A shifty man named Robert Lewis watches flower shop owner Kathy Nolan open the front door of her flower shop from a restaurant across the street. Later, Kathy brings flowers to the waiter for his ill wife Mia when she stops by the same diner to eat lunch. Lewis gets up and casually walks by her to wait outside at the car parking lot for Kathy. Kathy exits soon after and drives to LA Fitness for her yoga lessons. Robert follows Kathy in his car and parks near her car and waits. While Kathy is immersed in yoga, Robert gets a call from his housekeeper, Alondra, who tells Robert everything is ready for that evening. After class, Kathy chats with a new classmate in the locker room about how appealing Jen finds their yoga teacher, Casey. Lewis is reaching for his gun and zip ties when Kathy emerges from the gym. Outside, Kathy's new friend Jennifer insists they trade Instagram addresses. As Kathy approaches her car, Lewis springs into action and puts a plastic bag over Kathy's head. Kathy escapes the bag and screams, but cannot be heard by a man in headphones. Lewis puts duct tape over Kathy's mouth, zip ties her ankles and her hands behind her back, and momentarily leaves to get his car. Once parked, Lewis lifts Kathy and places her in the car trunk and drives away. While driving, a police car drives up next to Lewis's car at a stoplight, but Robert pulls away without incident. Lewis drives to a remote house where the automatic garage door malfunctions and only opens halfway. Lewis props the door open with a broomstick before backing his vehicle inside. Lewis opens the trunk and drags Kathy into the home. Her scraped heels leave smears of blood on the floor. Lewis locks Kathy in a small 10x10 room, which appears to be a cellar but is actually hidden away on the first floor. While Kathy struggles, Lewis prepares dinner and then cleans out his car of the supplies he used for the kidnapping. When he returns to Kathy, he tells her the room she is in has concrete walls 4 feet thick and are lined with sound-absorbent materials. He declares that screaming is useless. Lewis says he wants to learn the woman's name. When the duct tape is removed, Kathy screams hysterically. Lewis leaves to set his computer to start recording the sound in the cell. Then he cleans up the blood smears in the hallway. Meanwhile, Kathy tries to break open the door with her legs. Then Kathy manages to get to her feet and cry for help through an air vent which is emitting a bit of light. Lewis returns with a gun. He tells Kathy that he can just leave her screaming, or they can get down to business. Kathy offers Robert the $50,000 in her savings account, but Robert declines. Lewis recounts a news story about a bull at the slaughterhouse who smelled its own death, escaped, and ran across the city. Eventually, it was captured and killed, but its meat was poisoned by fear. Lewis asks Kathy her name, and Kathy says it is Kathy Nolan. Robert leaves. While Kathy struggles with her bonds, Lewis reviews the contents of Kathy's purse and cell phone, listens to a news report about exhumed bodies for which no alternative cause of death was discovered, and prepares supper. Kathy gets her bound hands in front of her and attacks Lewis when he comes to get her for the meal. She tries to call the police on the landline, but Lewis shoots the phone. Kathy is again able to knock Lewis momentarily senseless and scrambles to her purse. She discovers her cell phone has no reception. Kathy gets a large knife from a kitchen drawer and frees her legs. She tries to open the lock on the window doors with the knife. When Lewis regains his faculties, Kathy pleads with him not to kill her. Lewis possesses a gun, so he does not fear Kathy's knife and sits down to eat. Unsuccessful in her desperately attempt to get free, Kathy sits down at the table. Robert tells her she is smart because she knows if it were his intent to kill her, he would have already done it by now. He then again asks her name but attacks her when she answers. They fight again. Kathy gets Lewis in a chokehold, but he overpowers her and returns her to the cell when a car pulls into the driveway. As Lewis exits the cell, his maid Alondra enters the house. She is astonished at a disheveled condition of the home and that Robert is bleeding. Robert had forgotten to tell Alondra to take a day off, but sends her away now. Alondra promises to return with Summer, Lewis's daughter, the next day after her sleepover. Then Robert begins sweeping up the broken glass and cleans the bloody knife the struggle created. Kathy lies in the cellar, bleeding and in pain. She tries her cell phone again and tries to pry away the tiling on the floor. Robert takes a shower and watches news clips of a trail of the Charleston 3 where medical records seem to have been faked in a cover-up for the reason of death. For several people, Lewis returns and questions Kathy. Kathy tells Robert that she was born in Orange County, California, went to NYU to study English, and then worked briefly in a library before moving to Atlanta to open her flower shop. She claims her mother is a retired nurse and her father, who had passed away, worked for the Detroit Lions. Robert is frustrated with her answers and begins the series of questions again. Kathy tells him she already answered him, but he keeps asking for details of her past life, insisting that she is lying. He shoots the pistol into the wall above her head. As Lewis continues to press her for answers, Kathy changes her story. She tells him she was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin. She confirms to Lewis that her mother was a nurse and her father was a teen doctor who left her mother for a cheerleader, which broke Kathy's heart and caused her twin sister's suicide. Kathy now admits having studied medicine and formerly worked as a nurse. Lewis says Kathy was the name of her dead sister, and Kathy now admits her name is Natalie Ann Stevens. As he leaves, Robert says he suspects she already knows why he brought her to the remote location. Lewis watches a video where he cradles his baby daughter. In the meantime, Natalie tries to call the police on a mobile phone she had hidden. When the phone rings in the video, Robert realizes he does not know where Natalie's phone is. He rushes into the cell, finds the phone in her pocket, and smashes it. Lewis asks Natalie where she worked. Natalie answers that she worked at St. Mary's in Green Bay before she worked at All Angels Hospital in Charleston. Robert Lewis demands to know about the Charleston three patients admitted to the All Angels Hospital in Charleston who died under the nurse's care, one of whom was his wife, Alana Matthews Lewis. Lewis accuses Natalie of murder since his wife's blood was full of alcohol and the rape drug, GHB. Natalie apologizes for Alana's death. Lewis simply states that he knows that she killed his wife. Robert demands an adequate reason his wife died or promises that Natalie will die. Robert leaves the cell to watch films of his little happy family with his wife Alana and his daughter, Summer, at 4 years old, playing in the snow around Thanksgiving. Infuriated, Robert returns to the cellar to threaten Natalie with his gun. Natalie promises to tell Robert everything. As a nurse, Natalie's patients would sometimes admit to Natalie some of the bad things they did in their lives. Alana spread her legs for another man and cheated on Robert. Robert refuses to believe his wife had cheated on him. Lewis looks for evidence for his wife's infidelity on videos and sees one part in particular, where her phone rings. She looks at it impassively and ends the call emotionally overwhelmed. Lewis drives away and stops at a lake. Natalie uses her broken cell phone to scrape away at the seams between the floor tile feverishly. Lewis has a brief encounter with police while stopped at a lake, but he is able to quell any suspicions by being cooperative. The police do see Natalie's shoes and sweater in the trunk, but Lewis claims it belongs to his wife. In the meantime, Natalie is able to remove a broken shard of floor tile from the floor and is able to cut open her restraints. Lewis returns to his house, tells Natalie she had no right to kill his wife before he could talk to her, and demands she go to the police and confess to the Charleston 3 murders case. Natalie says she is now Kathy Nolan and won't let him ruin her fresh start of a now happy life. Then Natalie attacks him with the floor tile shard. Soon after, Natalie arms herself with a knife. Lewis is bleeding heavily as he tries to lock Natalie into the cellar again. Natalie flees and they struggle again until Natalie recovers the gun. Just then, Alundra, the maid, comes home with Lewis's daughter Summer, who is arriving unexpectedly from a canceled sleepover. Natalie shoots Alundra and takes Summer as hostage. Natalie claims Summer is not Lewis's biological daughter since his wife cheated on him. Natalie resolves that everything that has happened is Robert's responsibility. Natalie tells him this can only end with Robert's and Summer's death. Robert tells Natalie that the house is recording everything she has said, and Summer bites Natalie and escapes to the cell where Lewis finds his daughter after choking out and then shooting Natalie. As they head to escape in the car, Summer sees Natalie is gone. Lewis takes the recordings from the computer of Natalie's confessions and runs to the garage. There, Natalie corners Lewis with the gun, but when she pulls the trigger, the gun is empty. Then Natalie tries to stab Robert with a pitchfork, but he drives it upwards to take her off balance and unconscious. Lewis scrambles out of the garage, while a staggering Natalie is smacked down by the malfunctioning garage door. Soon after, the police arrive and the nightmare is over. Lewis hugs Summer and tells her he loves her.